All right. So last week was a Q&A session, and so is this week. And last week we had one of the questions that we were dealing with that we decided to carry over to today, which is who are the Levites? And also we had another question that we had not covered, which was who are the sons of Noah? I did share a welcome, Sister Terry Ann. Good to see you. And so today I had said we would discuss those two questions. And if you'll all allow me, I just want to reverse the order. Instead of starting with the Levites, I want to discuss the first 30 minutes or so, who are the children of Noah? And then we will get into the Levites in the second half. I'm hoping you all had a chance to read through the Testament of Levi and any other information that you may have. I pray that the Most High will give us revelation to learn some more about that.
Revelation.
All right. So I will say I do have some material prepared about what I think or who I think the sons of Noah are. But like we did last time, I'll come last. So let me hear what you all have to say about what we think or what we know about the sons of Noah. And then maybe in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I'll share what I have.
Shem is that he had the DNA of E1B1A, which is straight from Adam. And that all of us don't have that, unfortunately. I just found out that my father actually is EP, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
When I looked it up, but that Shem is the father of us, basically. Right. That Father Abram, Isaka and Akobi all come from him, and we come from them. So they are our grandparents, basically. You know, so that was one of the things that I learned about them. I'm still in question. I know this probably goes a little bit past it, but we're still trying to find out where Cain's family actually comes from.
Cain?
Yes, Cain.
Okay.
Cain who killed Abel.
Okay.
What we've learned is that Cain was not a part. Cain inserted himself into the line. Was what we were taught, was that he inserted himself in the line to, bring confusion, bring more confusion. And we know that that's what Satan wants to do, is anytime he can warp the relationship between us and Sonini Nanini, that's what he wants to do. Still, like I said, basically me and Ray were studying about Shem. That was the one that we're kind of looking into. So
nice. And everybody who has a comment, feel free, jump in or raise your hand or, whatever you need to do to get our attention. It's really a discussion, so if you have a question as we're going along, you chime in. Question, Elder Vanessa, when you say Cain kind of inserted himself or was inserted, what makes you say that? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. In studying all this, because it's all so very, very new to me. This is how I was raised. I thought, or was understood, that Cain and Abel were brothers. That's what I've read, that Cain and Abel were brothers, and that Cain killed Abel because Abel gave a greater sacrifice than he did. Sitting under Elder Nkosi, one of the things that he explained was, Shem, you cannot have E1B1 blood if you are not black. So this is not something that's made up. You just can't just choose, oh, I want to be E1B1A. You can't do that, and that kind of shed light on, okay, so this is where we're from, but I'm still trying to understand where Cain comes from. And what he said was that Cain is literally a satanic entity that came in. When the body is empty, another spirit will take it. I don't completely understand it all, but that's basically what was explained to us. And I'm still kind of like, feeling it out. Like what does that mean?
Okay.
Also, I've read and listened to the book of Adam and Eve, and I listened to and read Genesis and Enoch, and there's variations on how Cain, not that I'm trying to hijack the subject, there's variations on how Cain
came in.
Well, his birth and his siblings. There's one story that they had 3 sisters. There's a story where there was only 2 sisters. So, that's where, okay, there's ambiguity about this story, which means somewhere along the line, it was, as we know, the scriptures were tampered with. And to see how, when it comes to the sons of Noah, how for years I thought, well, all the black people came from Ham. Yeah, but so is his brothers. I mean, all black. And to know, that another race of people trying to insert themselves as sons of Noah. And here we are trying to sift through all of this. It's a good mystery to solve. It will be.
And I like what you just mentioned, like the book of Adam and Eve. Those are the kind of pieces of information that I'm hoping we can all bring to the table and share to help everybody, including those who will be watching us later on. So you're not changing the topic. You're fine to mention that. In fact, when you talked about Cain, you reminded me of a scripture we've talked about here before, which is in 1 John chapter 3, verse 12. I've just posted it on the chat, if I got it right. My chat is a little bit hazy here. Let me get it. Can you all see it on the chat there?
Yes, I can see it.
All right. Okay. I don't know why my chat is, I cannot see it yet, but please read it for me if you can see it, as I figure out how to display my chat.
Okay. Not as Cain, who was of the wicked one, and slew his brother. And wherefore slew he him? Because his own works were evil, and his brother's righteous.
Correct. So this is a verse that I came across one time while having a discussion here, and I have not seen a more direct statement of whose father Cain was or where he came from than that one. Brother Makudi, you had something to add on? Go ahead.
Yes, this is I'm loving Elder Ray and Mama Vanessa right now. But Book of Adam and Eve, perfect example. Let's talk about the Lilith character for a second. Right? Lilith is synonymous with Greek mythology.
Yes.
Right? So you already know who wrote, or let's say translated the book of Adam and Eve. Some people call them the pale beast. Let's just keep, right?
Yeah.
So, but she is a pale beast, right? So, in Norse mythology, they refer to her as Hela.
Hela, yes, right.
Right? But in the book of Adam and Eve, this was the representation of Shaitani that produced Cain, right? Or whatnot, or the man. I think it was the Satan himself made it with Eve and had Cain, and then they had Abel. Adam and Eve had Abel later. So I haven't dealt with that in a while, but she had dealings with Adam, and I think that's where they said the original sin of sexual immorality came from.
Brother Makudi, which book did you say that was in?
That's the book of Adam and Eve.
Okay.
It's the book of Adam and Eve.
Okay.
Yeah. So so we know that the book was translated by them. We know that they're talking about their gods. We know that this is a running theme in their different pantheons. We know that you know, they even have images that represent this, you know, and then we kind of cross over to the seed of the woman crushing the serpent's head, right? You know, we are not. It's kind of slipping here, but I had so much. But the seed of the woman is told us in a certain. Okay, I remember it now. Seed of the woman is told to us to be a special seed, right? But it never tells us what kind of seed would come from the, you know, there's a differentiation between seed here. You see what I'm saying? We know for a fact that Abel, right? I mean, yeah, Abel was the seed of the woman, right? And what's his name? Seth, right?
Yeah.
We know that he is seed of the woman, right? But it's, you know, and we just know that Cain goes out into the world. We don't know what, you see what I'm saying? Like, we don't, there's nothing, you know, it's only those two that were like expanded upon positively.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. Like, we don't see details of, you know, the birth of Cain, like the way you would be told that, you know, Adam came together with his wife Eve and they both
right.
Yeah, I understand that. I follow that. And that's a good point, because I'm going to be talking about something like that when we're getting into the detail of the sons of Noah. But yes, I do see your point. Great.
I have one more. I was listening to Yaya Mikael, maybe it was a couple weeks ago, and he brought up a valid point that relates to this. He said, the Most High has made us into Elohim, right? But when it comes to the back to the seed of the serpent and the seed of the woman, he said these days there is a mixture. You see what I'm saying? So there are some people that looks like the seed of the woman, but they are physical manifestation of the serpent's seed that looks like the seed of the woman, right? So you know, this is a good one. You know, I just want to share that.
I think that's a valid point. In fact, that scripture that I just posted, you know, Genesis 3:14 and 15, where it says in 15, I'll put an enmity between you and the woman, and between her seed and between your seed and her seed. And this is referring to Satan. In Swahili, Satan is called Shetani, which you just said, Brother Makudi. So if the Most High is putting enmity between the seed of Satan and the seed of Eve, that clearly tells us that here on earth, we will have at least those two seeds. It's just in plain black and white that it's right there in Genesis telling us, guys, be aware. You will have these two seeds. We're not talking some spiritual stuff here. We're just talking physical existence. Okay. Let me go to Mama Emma Doris. Go ahead. Time is given. Then we'll go to Mama Royal Daughter. And I did see the comment about the tithe and the question about the tithe. We'll discuss that when we're talking about the Levites. Mama, go ahead.
Praise the Most High. Shalom, everyone. Yes, this is awesome. Again, on the backside of the tapestry. But the Most High is really showing us where those threads fit and fit correctly. I had also been introduced to the book of Adam and Eve. And I read, I think, the first chapter. But then the word came that, don't read these, don't introduce these books, and don't, that fear thing jumped up. So, but when I first read it, when I first heard that that dialogue between Adam and Eve and the Most High, it just really gripped my spirit, because the compassion of the Most High to the voice of Adam and Eve when they discovered what they had done, it was just my flesh, my being just identified with that, because it took me back to my understanding of just how I was introduced to the scriptures, and the Most High said, do not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, because he knew the condition of the earth, because it tells us that in Genesis 1, he separated light from darkness. And again, the Most High helping me to understand that he's talking about light. And he said he separates light from darkness, and that's the whole thing. But as we continue to read, because of being born into the matrix and understanding that now, we focus on the literal, black and white, instead of light or day and night. And so that's what's helping me to continue to receive more light and more understanding, so that you can get in and support the different parts of the body that the Most High is using to bring together this unity of understanding, and to do what he told Abraham, walk uprightly before me, as opposed to what Cain was doing. And even when I looked up the definition of Abel's name, they said he was, it was terrible, to the extent that I can't hardly remember exactly what it said, but basically said that he was not designed to be the leader. That's why he ended up being killed. I was like, it was just terrible, the definition they gave. And then when they talked about Cain, it gave all this kind of he was stronger and he was the righteous one kind of thing. So anyway, all this is adding to my understanding and the light and who we are and what happened. And again, why it happened, because again, the Most High said, okay, this is what I wanted to say. In the promise that the Most High, in the instructions that the Most High gave Adam and Eve, do not do this, because again, he knew the condition of the earth. And again, that's evident in the scripture where he says, I made you in my image and my likeness. Have dominion over fish of the sea. And then he named all the animals, because again, this is the part that he's telling us after what we eventually learned about the war in heaven and the fallen angel Lucifer being kicked out because of iniquity being found in his heart. And I remember, again, when I first began to just go into the scriptures one-on-one with the scriptures and the spirit of the Most High giving me understanding, that was a question. It's like, because they had told us that the Most High created evil, but then they say he can't create evil. So anyway, those are the scriptures that I'm unraveling and hearing from you guys that you're unraveling and coming to the extent, as our sister so righteously said at the beginning, we were created to praise him. That was another one of the things I first learned from this group of people called the navigators, that we were created. Why were we created? And it was that we were created to praise. And praise means to be obedient and to be, like he said, just to be like him, loving, and just walk that way. But again, that was interrupted in the beginning. The scripture says, if the foundation be destroyed, where will the righteous be? And see, that's another scripture to help me know. Again, always go back to Genesis. We got to get this first part solidified and confident in what the Most High has said that he was doing and who he was doing it with and for. And again, that is us, and we're learning that. But again, we still have this tendency to shift to the fact that, yeah, but we did this. No, the enemy did this. And in Revelation, it says, when we finally get to this victorious point, we're going to say, oh, so he's the one who did all this and caused the nations to fall. So again, we have to have confidence in the fact that we are exactly who the Most High said we are. And in those examples of the story of our brother who just was, when he was attacked and they tried to kill his body, he just put himself back together and did what he was supposed to do. But it still was hard to convince the brethren that you don't be afraid of what's going to happen to your flesh. It's the spirit, your spirit. And we're at that point and we're learning that. But again, it's because of the trauma. And like I said, we were born this way. We were born into this. The scripture said the whole head is sick. The whole head was wounded. But it was really the enemy deceiving us and thinking it was us, but it really was him. And so we keep listening to him and believing his side of the story, the narrative, instead of the Most High side. Yeah, I mean, this is good, and praise the Most High for you all and the revelation and the light that he's showing you, and I'm in agreement with that light and how he's bringing it forth. And again, praise the Most High for being afraid but doing it anyway.
Yes. I like that. Being afraid but doing it anyway. Thank you, Mama Doris. Mama Rodore, go ahead.
Thank you. Kimbangu said, we got to catch the thief with the instrument he stole. So we're aware that, the scriptures that we have is a watered down version of the original scriptures. And we will never know 100% truth until we see the original scriptures. But everything that has to do with us is part of Satan Zambi's plan. So it was by his will that we don't know everything. He said there are some mysteries that will not be known until he is ready to make them known. So, you know, all that being said, we had to take what they gave us and see how we can use it, because you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. He said, search the scriptures, for in them you will find truth. So we will take what they gave us and see if we could catch the thief. Genesis 4 13 says, and Cain said unto Tatanzambi, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond. So we got look at this. What does that mean? Thou hast driven me from this day from the face of the earth. From the face of the earth. Cain was a farmer. And from thy face shall I be hid. What's he talking about? Genesis 32:30. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for he had seen God's face, and my life is preserved. So Peniel means the face of God, the face of Tatanzambi. That's a little word, but a big, big, huge, huge statement. And Tatanzambi gave Cain a visible mark. The visible mark, he was hid from Tatanzambi's face, meaning he could never, ever serve Tatanzambi anymore. And so at that moment, he became the child of Satan, because there is no way he could seek Tatanzambi's face. And so Tatanzambi gave him a mark that was visible. Do we remember when we talked about King Uzziah, how he went into the temple and he tried to burn incense, and Tatanzambi gave him a mark on his forehead. He struck him with leprosy on his forehead. And the same thing happened to Miriam when she talked against Moses. So when Cain is talking about this mark that he gave Cain and that he could not seek his face anymore, it has to do with the pineal, his pineal gland. And what does the pineal do? It is well known that it produces melanin, and it is also known that it connects the seat of consciousness to life. So it spans the blood-brain barrier gap in your brain. So it connects life to the seat of consciousness. So literally what we call the third eye. What is called a third eye? The Bible talks about if your eye be single. It has to do with spiritual vision. It has to do with plugging in back to Tatanzambi. It has to do, he said, seek his face. That is his warning, his admonition to us, to seek his face. So all of this is connected. So Cain had a visible mark, but he also had a spiritual mark. He could no longer seek Tatanzambi's face. But he was given a physical mark so that people that see him, anybody seeing him, would be able to identify him. So we know it had to be a visible mark. And, you know, we know that the Bible told, Tatanzambi told Eve that he told Satan that he will make enmity between him and his seed, and between enmity between his seed and Satan's seed. And literally, there is a lineage of people whose blood cannot mix with ours, literally, on this earth. It's the RH negative blood. They cannot mix with ours. If for some reason that a woman, a female who's RH negative or not, mixes with anybody else, her body will kill that baby. Now in modern science, they have an injection that they can give the woman that will prevent her body from killing that. But the two blood do not mix literally. And there's one place on earth sorry about that. My phone was ringing. There's only one people on earth that have that bloodline. And they're literally farmers. Those people are farmers. And those are the people from which descended Spain and Portugal. They live in the Pyrenees mountain between Spain and who is it? I forgot. But these people are who Spain and Portugal descended from. And we know the history of Spain and Portugal and what they did to us. So if we really follow it, the scriptures speak for themselves. If we really, even with the little information that we know, because these people are not going to give you information so you can walk up directly and say, this is who you are. You have to follow the breadcrumbs. And so the story of Cain is not so much of a mystery because it's here. We just have to understand what they're saying in between. I read between the lines because it's written here. It's just that there's so much information that's missing that we really have to like pick out the information and make sense of it. And get that.
Thank you, Mama daughter, and welcome. You've touched on a lot of points, all of you. You know, I'm hearing geography, I'm hearing biology, you know, I'm hearing history, I'm hearing politics. I mean, it's life. It's all in there. The evidence is there. You know, very good points. I want to make a note of some things that some of you made that I think will tie into what I'm going to present about the sons of Noah. Interestingly, several of you brought up the book of Adam and Eve and the fact that it has information that we don't have in the Bible as we know it. Similarly, you will see I will present some information that is not from the Bible, but from some books mentioned in the Bible. And that information sheds more color than we have in the Bible. You know, whether or not information was deliberately hidden from us, I don't know. But the scriptures say in Deuteronomy 29:29 that there's some things which are hidden. And I'll find the verse so that I'm quoting it correctly. It says, the secret things belong unto Zambi, but those things which are revealed belong unto us and our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law. So keep that in mind when you think about the scriptures or the writings that are being revealed to us now that we didn't have before. The Most High has decided to reveal those things to us. And what are they? For whose benefit are they? They're for us and for our children forever. You know, if we were asleep to that information, now we're awake to that information, and we're going to pass it on so that it's, you know, a light to our generations behind us forever. Okay. Something else that was mentioned, I think it was Elder Ray that mentioned this. You find sometimes you have some information, but it's not enough information. And you see the information presented is trying to position, for example, Cain or somebody else in the Bible is trying to be positioned as the one, that maybe the promise is coming through or something like that. Whereas, let me give a practical example. You have Cain and Abel. You have Jacob and Ishmael. There are those, for example, like in Islam, who believe Ishmael was the firstborn, therefore was entitled, not Jacob, but Isaac and Ishmael. There are those who believe that Isaac was a secondborn, but Ishmael was the firstborn. So they think, the child of promise should be Ishmael. And you have Jacob and Esau. It's a trend, it's a pattern that you see where the enemy is trying to position their camp as the true one. Keep that in mind. You will see some of that in what I will be presenting shortly. All right. Let me see here. Mama Emma Doris mentioned about Abel's description. I posted it in the group, in the chat there. The name of the description of his name is something to do with vapor, breath, to act emptily or in vain. Cain's name means possessor, and we can go deeper into it. In fact, when you see the word Kenites, 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 those are descendants of Cain. And again, they try to position him as, to try and confuse us. You look at the genealogy of Cain, and they're using the same names, very similar to the genealogy of Shem's line, All right. Welcome, Mama Margaret. I hadn't said hello to you, and Brother Naibu. Good to see you all. Hope I'm not missing anyone. Let me jump straight into the presentation on what I think about the children of Noah. And I'll kind of go through it fast because I want us to cover some more stuff as well. All right. Let me know if you can see my screen, somebody. All right. Thank you, Sister Laura. All right. So first thing I want to point out here is we have a genealogy here. We're being told, and God said unto Noah, this is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. Then we're being told about the sons of Noah. And the sons of Noah that went forth off the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. The reason I highlighted that is this highlighted piece seems off. We're being told about the sons. Why do we have to be told that Ham is the father of Canaan? This kind of breaks the sequence of how the rest of the writings are, because it's talking about what happened, in the covenant, and it talks about the sons. Why not tell us about, let's say, Magog or Gomer, that, Japheth was the father of those people? Or why not tell us that Shem was the father of Arphaxad or something like that? Why tell us about Ham right in here and tell us about his fourth son? Okay, and then again, they come and repeat it here. It seems a bit off. That's just my point on now. I'm gonna go to the next one. Okay, here, Genesis 5:32, it tells us Noah was 500 years old and he begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay, pay attention to the fact that it says 500 years old. Now, it doesn't tell us, if this were triplets or not, but it just tells us those were the children, and when he was 500 years old is when he begat them. The order is questionable because Shem is the last born. Ham is supposedly, based on how it's written, the middle child, and Japheth we know is the firstborn, but we don't know that from here, right? So two things, 500 years old, then he begets the three of them. Okay, then it repeats here, the same order. Genesis 6, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay, let's go a bit outside the Bible. I apologize if this is a bit small, but here we get some details. The first part where verse 16, this is the book of Joshua, chapter 5. You can see it at the top in case somebody wants to look it up later. So when Noah was 498, now we're getting details, we're getting more color. He's 498 years old. He took a wife, Naamah. We're even given the name, which we don't get in the Bible. And Naamah bare him a son and called him Japheth, saying, God has enlarged me. That's what the name means, in the earth. And she conceived again and bare him a son and called his name Shem, saying, God has made me a remnant to raise up seed in the midst of the earth. Okay, so Shem is born when Noah is 502. Okay, it says here, Noah was 502 years old when his wife Naamah bare Shem. 498, Japheth is born. 4 years later, Shem is born. There's no mention over here of when Ham is born. Okay, and then it mentions that God has made me a remnant. Shem is considered a remnant. The way I understand the word remnant is what is left behind or what is remaining behind. And this remnant, Shem, will raise up seed in the midst of the earth. This kind of gives, the word remnant here kind of tells me, in my view, my opinion, that that is the last child. That is the remaining child after Japheth. That's how I also understand it. All right, anyway, let's go along. Maybe we'll see it, a few more things. Now, when we look on this side here, it says, talks about the flesh over there, and the Most High wants to destroy the earth. But then Noah is told to gather 3 maidens for his sons. Question is, why 3? And by the way, this is the same chapter. Chapter 5, verse 15, all the way to 27 is just repeated here. Chapter 5, verse 23, it's the same continuation over here. So in verse 32, why is he choosing 3 maidens, yet he has 2 sons? Something doesn't add up there. So anyway, he takes 3 daughters of Eliakim, a son of Methuselah, for wives for his sons. 3 daughters, 2 sons, doesn't add up a lot. The math is not mathing, as Brother Nick would say. Okay, let me go to the next one. So here we are seeing, and all the sons of men, this is during the flood, about 700,000 men and women. That's how many people were on the earth around that time, okay? And it talks about more about them in here. Don't want to get into the details of the flood, but my point in this page is that it still doesn't mention Ham. It just mentions and Noah and his sons. Okay, this is when they're getting into the ark and when they get out of the ark and it rests upon the mountains of Ararat. Again, no mention of Ham, just talks about sons. Okay, now you get to chapter 7 of Joshua, and then it says these are the names of the sons of Noah. Notice the order. Japheth, who was the first one? Ham. Where is it coming from? And Shem. Okay, and then children are born to them after that, after the flood. Okay, now notice something else. Tells us the sons of Japheth and gives us the names, and the sons of, let me see here. Yeah, okay, so it tells us about how many people were born to this 3. So Japheth, it says 460 men, or roughly people, not just men, but Ham, 730. Shem, about 300. So Ham, who we don't know who the parents are, we've been told it's Noah, but has more people than the other two siblings. I just found that big interesting. In fact, has almost double. One has 400, the other one has 300, and he has 700. More. Okay, some of you have seen these charts here. It just gives you the genealogy of the children of Noah. So over here, we have Noah has Shem, then Japheth, and Ham. Here, look at this verse, Genesis 9:27. It says, God shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem. Okay, so Japheth and Shem should live together. Shem, Japheth. This is how the scriptures describe this genealogy, the Bible especially. Okay, now, I think, and I agree with those, this is just my opinion. I'm glad to discuss it if somebody has a different viewpoint. But I think this is what happened in the scriptures. They took the name of Japheth, and it was supposed to be where the name of Ham is. So on the right here, I'm showing that. I think Ham is the father of these people here. And I'll show you briefly, shortly, why I say that. These are mostly European nations. Okay, European and what we call today the Middle East, which is really not the middle of anywhere. And then this down here, Cush, Mizraim, Phut, these are African nations. And I believe this is Japheth. Okay, one of the clear signs that tells me just from looking at this lineage that is likely what happened is that if you go to, for example, Africa, and you find a name like Mizraim, or you find a name like, let me just take a name here like Sheba. You see Sheba here, and you see Havilah, okay? If you look at the lineage of Shem, you also see Havilah and Sheba. This is very common that you'll find names of people who are related have been passed down. And in this case, I'm saying Shem is related to his brother Japheth, not Ham. And that's why they have even people with the same common names. I do not see any of these names here in that line of Shem or in the line of what I believe is Japheth. Okay, let's look at a little bit more evidence. I apologize, the screen is a bit hazy. Got a lot of information here, but the main things I want you to see here are that this is from the scriptures. You can go to Genesis chapter 10 from verse 2. We'll get this breakdown. It tells us the sons of Japheth are Gomer, and Gomer includes Germany, Crimea, this is Ukraine, Ashkenazi Germany, the Saxons, that's the British, Scandinavia, and so on, Armenians. Again, mixture of Europe and what we call the Middle East. Magog, Georgia, Scythians, Indians of India. I mean, you can read it here, Moscow and all that. Here, they tell us this is Ham. We know these are the African nations, Cush, Nimrod, Mizraim, Canaan, and all that. And then we have Shem here. So the scriptures say that verse again, Japheth shall dwell in the tents of Shem, sorry. So Japheth is supposed to be with Shem, but these are Europeans. They're not living. Europe is not in the same tent as Shem. Who is in the same tent as Shem? We know from Shem is where we have Isaiah, who the scripture shows as black, and we have Isolele, Israel, Jacob. So if you take Ham and switch and put Ham here, you get your European nations. And if you put Japheth here in the middle, you have your African nations, and these two people are siblings. Let's look at the DNA and see if we have siblings in these places. Okay, this is a big map. It's just color-coded. That's what I want you to get from here, but this is the DNA. Okay, I'm not a scientist and don't claim to be one. But what I understand is that if you see purple in Brazil and America and north of Canada, Greenland, and those areas, those people have a common ancestor. If you see blue or this yellowish orange color with this blue in Europe, right, and a little bit inside in the middle of Africa, those have the same ancestors. Their DNA is the same, the R1 DNA that somebody talked about. Same thing. So wherever you see the color coding, it matches up. One thing is clear. You see the browns here? Mostly in Africa. Okay, we've got a little sprinkling in Europe or Middle East, but main majority of it is here. Now let's zoom in into these images so that we see a clearer picture. Okay, this is Africa. If this is a tent, I should expect to see this E code with different DNAs, but in Africa. I see an E1 here, E3A, E3B. It's still the same E. That's common from one ancestor. And this is what somebody talked about earlier, that there's E1B1A and E1B1B. Yes, they're under the same tent. This includes part of, I would say, Northeast, like Egypt, maybe Sudan. And then in this Middle Eastern region, you have a J1 in green, a J DNA. So if these three people, Shem, Japheth, and Ham were siblings, I would expect that they should all have maybe J's or E's. You know, now Japheth, like I was proposing, Japheth is labeled as the father of the Europeans, Gomer, Meshach, and all those guys. If they have the J's or the R's, and he's a sibling to Ham, as the Bible says that Ham is the African, then why do they have a different DNA? That doesn't match up. That doesn't add up. That's the whole point I'm trying to make here. And these charts, you can find them. I'll put the website that I got this from up there. This is secular scholastic research based on DNA collected. They've just mapped it globally. It's not that I came up with it. All right, here's another chart that just shows the same things. You see some E down in North Africa, where there's a mixture of Africans and some Arabs. And you see a lot of R in Europe, a lot of R in Europe, a little bit of that E over there. L, J, G, Q, C, J. There's biologically no way that these people are the same as these people. Something doesn't add up there. Okay, here's another picture that specifies the colors that we see in Africa. So you see the E1B1A, and you see the E1B1B2. These are the same. As long as you see that E code, these are from the same ancestor, which is probably no. And then you can see some R that came from Europe and came in here, right? But you have the E1, you have the E2. All this is in Africa, E1B1A, E1B1B. This, in my view, in my understanding, my layman's understanding, this is Shem and Japheth. Why do I think Japheth? Excuse me, oops, that's the last slide. I'll go back to one slide that, did I highlight that? Let me see. Okay, that's it. Let me stop sharing. Okay, so there's one other thing that I just found, not accidentally, actually saw this on Robert Headley's channel, that somebody Googled, maybe I should put it on the screen here. I'll just share it so that we all see it, so that it doesn't sound like I was sharing it after. Let's see, oops. Give me a second. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. So, okay, Can y'all see my screen that's showing Google?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to translate Egypt in a South African language called isiXhosa. Right? Translate Egypt to Xhosa or isiXhosa. And Egypt is translated as Jifete. Sounds to me like Japhet. Just a thought. Why is that in the traditional or the native language, one of the native languages in South Africa, the isiXhosa, why is Japhet translated as Egypt? All right, let's get back to some discussion. Oh boy, we have taken already an hour just on Noah. So let's keep this one to about 10, 15 minutes max, and then we'll switch gears and talk about the Levites and the tithes. Thoughts, people, thoughts. What's going through your mind? Mama Emma.
Oh, that was awesome. Something that one of the slides in the scriptures, I can't remember what it was, and you read it, and it says, in the midst. And as we notice, again, as we're learning that Cain is inserting himself in the middle of everything. So as to say that he is the one, and he's fighting for that position against us. And then he put Shem at the end and focused on Japhet and Ham in those scriptures that you were pointing out in the description. Okay, and it talks about, okay, Shem is, again, the target of Satan, Luciferian, fallen angels, cut off, kill. He came to kill, steal, and destroy. So that's why Shem is written in that way in our Bibles and all the things that we read about him. So slowly being quote unquote ignored or just blanked out, blacked out as not being important. And then the other thing I was thinking about was, again, in Genesis, Lucifer's position in the heavenlies. Again, I didn't find that out until later on reading in Isaiah, where it gives a description, what his description was. And it says that he was the cherub that covered. And again, like I said, I haven't done any extensive study on that particular thing. What did he cover? And also, and it said iniquity was found in his heart. And then in Psalms, it talks about, and to me, it sounds like it's Lucifer speaking to the Most High and saying, I think it says, and why the angel says, why does the Most High consider man? So why is man so important to the Most High when he is just flesh? And so again, it goes back to the original, to me, the original position and where disobedience began. It began in the heavenlies. And so now the Most High, it was placed in his heart. He wanted to actually see, quote unquote, himself in a physical way. And so he created man. And of course, the host of heaven was there at the beginning and saw that. And so again, this is to me how my understanding, starting to get understanding of how he begins to insert himself in the affairs of man, to come against the position that he had with the Most High. As I said, iniquity was found in his heart. Okay, we know, well, I'm starting to understand that the word iniquity means the acts, the things that you actually do. It's not your thoughts. It's how you carry out those thoughts. That's iniquity. Because again, the scripture says, we were born in sin and shaped in iniquity. And then it talks about those things that we did when it tells us about how we were shaped in iniquity. We shaped in iniquity because of the accusations against the enemy again, in the beginning, when he spoke to Eve and said, did the Most High really say that you're going to have dominion over the fish of the sea? Okay, again, coming into understanding later on that the fish of the sea is the marine kingdom. Again, how did Cain get over the flood? You know, because again, the scripture says the Most High destroyed all flesh and everything that walked upon the earth. So, I mean, those are some thoughts again that, with the information that you guys bring forth, just give me confirmation about the things that the Most High began to show me when I go back and read Genesis, and to keep bringing that forth. And also, as you were talking, you said you're not a scientist, and I was studying something else, and I happened to look up science, and it didn't give any long definition. It just said science is knowledge. Okay, and who did Most High give the knowledge to? His people, which we again are striving or learning to hear the voice of the Most High, which is another thing he was saying to me as you were speaking. It's like, it's important for these kinds of organized or step-by-step orderly fashion, the way you bring it forth, and to hear it, because it's the sound. And he always talks about his voice. Hear his voice, and his voice means sound. Hear has to do with sound. Ears have to do with sound. All those things has to do with sound. How he created the universe was by sound. So, and that's what activates me, is like hearing the sound out loud, and being able to plug in my little particular part as I'm hearing the sound of what the Most High is saying to each one of us.
Thank you, Mama Emma. Thank you. A lot of good information you've shared there. Oh my, I got a lot of confirmations that I had come across, especially with regard to who was destroyed. That was after the flood. I mean, during the flood. Yeah, you touched some items that I've been thinking about there. Brother Nick, you had a comment?
Yeah, habari yenu. I don't know if you can hear me very well.
Yes, we can.
I have two comments. So I'll start with the first one in terms of Cain and in terms of Ham. So these are the things I noticed, and I pick up two coincidences. One, in the birthing of Cain, we noticed the wicked one is around. Whether he's in the garden or is around, he's around. In the birthing or in the introduction of, not birthing, but rather in the introduction of Cain, we notice the wicked one is around, whether he's in the garden or is in the context. In the introduction of Ham, we notice the sons of the wicked one are in the context. They're in the earth at that time. In particular, they're what leads to the destruction of the earth in those days. So that's the first thing I noticed. Then on the second part, the scripture you read that said Shem will be in the midst of the earth. Literally midst of the earth. I don't know if you could pull it up, because it's important, so that you just see how it ties in. So
I will pull it up. Keep going. I'll see.
Okay.
Was it one of the scriptures that I presented? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I'll find it.
When it says Shem will be in the midst of the earth, I think Shem will be in the midst of the earth in terms of when it was saying Japheth and Shem. Japheth was the firstborn, Shem was the secondborn, where it says, and and Shem will be in the midst of the earth, something like that.
Okay, I found it. It's
one of the things.
Sorry, Nick. It's from the book of Joshua, chapter 5, where and Naamah conceived and bare a son and called his name Japheth, saying, "The Most High has enlarged me in the earth." And she conceived again and bare a son, and he called his name Shem, saying, "God has made me a remnant to raise up seed in the midst of the earth." So that's Shem. Chapter 5 of Joshua, verse 17. Thank you.
So when you look at that, the Lord has raised Shem to be a remnant in the midst of the earth. In this particular case, it would be not so far from the equator, from what they're speaking about. We know the equator line, and we know Shem's lineage is mostly there. The reason I say this is you have to look at the supporting, basically receipts for everything. So you have to have proof that it makes sense. So you have to look at the book of Lamech and see where Lamech came from or where Lamech was staying. Lamech was staying with his father Methuselah in the land of Shinar, or in the valley of Shinar. Same was Enoch. The land of Shinar is southern Sudan, not so far from the equator.
And what are the receipts for that, Brother Nick? Which books?
It's in the book of Lamech. So I'll post it here. I just got a snippet. It's not complete, but it's in the book of Lamech, which comes from the Dead Sea Scrolls. And it's in the first chapter of Lamech. It shows you the genealogy of and who was the father of Lamech, Methuselah, and Enoch, and those and the rest. Going up to I think it was first Seth, and then you had Enos, the son of Enos of Seth, and then Canaan, Malalel, Yared, Enoch, like that. So it's just a demonstration of the lineage. So you find it in the book of Lamech, Dead Sea Scrolls. So that's the receipt for that. So I'll just post the link that you can be able to find it. The other thing that I picked up was this. When you look at the description of the two names on the sons of Noah, you're given Japheth, and the name of Japheth means something. And then you're given Shem, who will be a remnant. So Japheth, God has enlarged my age or something. Then you're given Shem, who will be a remnant. You're not given the name of Ham and what it means. Nowhere does it feature. You don't know what it means, or you don't even know where he will be sharing, with who. There's nothing that it says, or Ham will be sharing the tents of Japheth and Shem. Nothing. And you don't even know the name of Ham, what it means. It kind of sticks out like a square in a round peg, because all the names have meanings in the biblical character. They have meanings. And the Most High would not give out names without meanings. So that's just something that came out, that stuck out from there. I guess that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Brother Nick. Excellent, excellent. Mama Ray, daughter, are you there? We got 2 minutes before we change gears. Go ahead.
I'm here. You know, this whole conversation is so interesting to me, with the blood and the bloodline. You know, I want to say something. If we remember the Negro Bible, the slave Bible, if they took out whole chapters just from this King James Version and created the Negro Bible. So we see all through history, they have been deleting and editing the original scriptures, and they whittled it down to the Negro Bible. But, you know, they didn't understand that Tatanzambi's plan was going to come back to haunt them, you know. So this thing about bloodline is very important because, you know, in one of the scriptures, it tells us that our father was a Chaldean. And when you look back to the history of Abraham, he was born in Ur of the Chaldees, but he was not Chaldean. So he was Chaldean because he was born in Chaldea. But Shem was his father. You know, he was a child of Shem. He was the first person called a Hebrew. So he was not Chaldean. But in the Bible, it tells you your father was a Chaldean. So that's one of the things that, like, it doesn't even make sense. You know what I'm saying? So we see throughout the Bible, there's a lot of mixing and editing. But like I said before, we'll see what we can find from what we have. And what we have is Jacob had a dream, and Jacob had a dream, and he saw this ladder. Jacob's ladder. And so I always, you know, try to think about that ladder. It just doesn't make sense because angels don't need a ladder to ascend and descend from heaven. But the other thing that the ladder looks like is a strand of DNA. So one interpretation is that Jacob had a DNA that ascended to heaven. And so we see that really happened with Isaiah, that Jacob's DNA did ascend to heaven. And some important people were born, came up and down his DNA. Jacob's DNA descended to heaven. And not only Jacob's DNA, but Judah. And so in Joel 3, just last night I was reading this, Joel 3, chapter 16, Tatanzambi shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. But Tatanzambi will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. So shall you know that I am Tatanzambi Yoelimo, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no stranger pass through her anymore. And it shall come to pass that in that day that the mountain shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters, and the fountain shall come forth out of the house of Tatanzambi, and shall water the valley of Shittim. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness, for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. But Judah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation, for I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for Tatanzambi dwelleth in Zion. So he's talking about that his presence was not here in Jerusalem. If you read the whole chapter, his presence was not here in Jerusalem because of the blood that was shed in the land. But he said, I will again dwell in my mountain. I will again dwell. He said, but because I didn't dwell because of the blood that was shed, the blood of Judah and Jerusalem that was shed in the land. He said, but I will surprise them. I will again dwell in my land. I will roar out of Zion. I will come back in my mountain, in my holy mountain, and I will cleanse the blood that they had spilled. If we remember when Cain killed Abel, Abel's blood cried out to Tatanzambi. And so we see that there is a bloodline. He said that cried out to him. And we remember in when Brother Benaiah Israel did such an awesome job when he spoke about 70 AD when Rome besieged Jerusalem. He's literally, you could see the spirit of Tatanzambi move, lift up off the earth. And so since then, Isaiah said it, the kingdom suffered violence. And since then, his spirit, you know, the glory left the earth. He was not dwelling in his mountain until now. But he said in the scriptures, the whole earth again will be filled with his glory. That means he is a returning of Tatanzambi. And he said, for me to return, I will cleanse the land, because they feel like they have shed so much of that blood that they know he will not return, because the land has been defiled. The land has been so defiled. Remember in 70 AD how what's his name burned a pig on the altar? All these things was so that they could defile the land, and they keep shedding our blood in the land so that they could defile the land, because they don't want the glory of Tatanzambi to come back. But he said, I will again roar from Tatanzambi. Yes, and he says that the rivers will flow with milk and honey. He will drop down new wine. In other words, he's talking about the restoration, but he is speaking that so much blood was shed in the land. In order for him to come back, he has to cleanse the blood that he had not cleansed before. So when you speak about bloodline and you speak about the bloodline of Jacob, it is so important, because we know everything about covenant, everything that we have been speaking about is about bloodline. And we see that there is the RH negative bloodline. Nobody knows where that came from. Then there's the Neanderthal bloodline. Nobody knows where that came from. And the funny thing is, when they thought that we were Neanderthals, they said that we descended from apes. And that's where the Neanderthal bloodline came from. And they called it idiots because they thought it was us. But when they found out that it was them, all of a sudden, the whole top, they're not idiots anymore. They're not descended from ape. But that's a whole bloodline, the Neanderthal bloodline, that is not connected. So there is more than one bloodline on the earth right now. But Tatanza, they were able to get away with it for so long because we didn't know. But Tatanzambi exposed them, even with the DNA that they brought to try to trap us. It exposed them. So, you know, like we know in certain lands, it's illegal to do a DNA test because they know it will expose them. So this conversation about bloodline is extremely important, because it's extremely important to Tatanzambi. Engeta.
Oh my. That was good, like good. You know, Mama Emma, I had seen your hand. Was that the old hand? Or was that a new hand?
It was a new hand, but it's just some things. What came up as she was talking about was some scriptures. Again, the myths, and in the gospel it talks about bowels of mercy and living waters out of the belly, which is our myths in the middle of us. And then I saw someone had posted about an African proverb about us not being in Africa, but Africa being in us. And then also the information that Nkosi is bringing out about how many people are on the earth, as she's talking about the bloodline. We always have been, and even right now, cover the earth as the sea covers the land. And again, that's the deception that the enemy wants to make us think, again, based on the little synopsis that Most High gave me a few minutes ago about Shem as being blacked out or blanked out or washed out. And again, them trying to take hold to the myths of where the Most High is restoring his original design. It's in the middle, and the brother Nick talked about that, and he's from Kenya, and again, that particular country is in the forefront of the news right now, along with the Congo. And again, when we look at the continent of Africa right now, that's in the midst where all of the abundance that the Most High gave his people is located. And also in the older maps, real older maps, it talks about the middle of the earth and where it's located, and it's not like the maps that they're showing us today with the four corners, because it's just amazing. And I don't have I'm learning to just say the little parts that I have, and every time I do, one of you guys come in and break it down in an orderly fashion so that we can all understand that we all on that trajectory of being restored individually and as a nation. Again, I just want to exhort us to stop putting those buts in there when the Most High is speaking through you about who you are and the information that he's given us. They don't do that. They come right out and just lie straight in your face and claiming who they are. We got to stop not claiming who we are. That's the rising. Arise and shine, for your light has come. It is coming. It has come. So yeah, that's all. Praise God.
That was so good. That was so good. I have to chime in on what all of y'all are saying, because as an American being here, we have had so much stuff put in our heads about who we are that it is like, if to undo it is like trying to undread somebody's dreaded hair. When you lock your hair and it's locked, to go back in and pick it out, and everybody will tell you, of course we can go back in and pick it out, but you're going to lose some hair with that. You're definitely going to lose some hair with it. And unfortunately, and I'm about to cry again, y'all know I'm emotional, it's the lies that have been told to us from me being in a Pentecostal church. So much stuff that we've been told that we have to endure, and that we have to take this because this is what Sonini Nanini wants us to do. And I was watching a docu, and the woman was talking about how when two women got together, one white, one black, the white woman says of her son, "Oh, he's so smart. He can do anything. You name it, he can do it. He's just wonderful at everything he puts his hand to." And then the black mother is asked, "How's your son doing?" "Oh, that piece of thing, he don't do nothing. You got to talk to him 3 and 4 times before he do anything." And she explained why that was. And the tears just fell from my eyes as she explained. It was the way that Massa would come in and say, "Oh, your son, he looks really strong and healthy." That meant he was going to take him away and sell him, perhaps. So the black woman's attitude was not that she really believed that her son was lacking in anything. It was just, if I say this, maybe Massa will not mess with him and he'll get to stay here. "Oh, Massa, he horrible. Oh, Massa, he don't work good enough. He ain't good enough. That gal, she just a hot mess. She ain't going to do nothing you tell her to do." And it was all to protect their children. And unfortunately, it leaked down into the line, because this is in our DNA now. It leaks down into the line. And now we as Black parents can't say anything good about our children. It's always something negative. If they're a smart child, oh, he ain't as smart as everybody else. He think he's smart. Why can't we just say, yes, my child is smart. I'm very excited and proud of him, and not proud in the fleshy way, but what we really need to walk in as Africans in this country. We come from smart people. We come from women who were able to grab trees and push out babies and throw them on their backs and keep going, because that's what we're built out of. That's what we did. You know, it was, yes, bad things happen, but then we take what was bad and turn it around and we make it good, because that's what Sanini Nanini does. What the devil meant for evil, he takes it and turns it around and he makes it good. But we don't have that mindset of just that we're horrible, we'll never amount to anything. And I'm seeing that being broken here just by understanding lineage and where do you come from? It is so important that we know who we are and where we come from. It's imperative, because once you know who you are, yes, you are a danger. You are a cocked pistol ready to be shot. I'm just waiting for you to say the wrong thing, waiting for you to say it, and not to hurt you. It's not to hurt you, but I'm gonna know who I am, and you're gonna know who I am after I finish. So I'm grateful for every last one of you. My heart is so full right now. I just love me some y'all. I really, really do. Every last one of y'all. Love me some y'all.
Amarodo, I'm going to come to you, but now we're going to pivot into the discussion about the Levites as well as about tithing. Is Sister Terry-Ann here? Yes, she's still here. She brought that $1 million question, as they call it here in America, $1 million question. All right. We shared the book about the Testament of Levi earlier this week. Anything you guys read in there about the Levites, or anything that you think about with regard to tithing? It's time to talk about that. Mama Ray, daughter, let's go on.
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with what the sister said. What she said was so powerful, because, you know, that's exactly what that dream that Jacob got was, that you have powerful men ascending and descending your DNA. And it was because of that, because of the people that I put in your bloodline, the strength that I put in your bloodline, that you will survive. Because what happened to us, to our ancestors, nobody else would survive it. I mean, like, we were fed trauma. We ate trauma for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for hundreds of years. There is no possibility that we should have survived. And so this is why what she was saying was powerful, because every time they brought something else to us, we adapted. Because what she was saying was adapting to the environment. We adapted so many times. You know, trauma is one of the things that will split your pain. Trauma will split your personality. That's why, you know, you see even during COVID, these non-melanated people were jumping out windows. They just couldn't handle staying inside. It was breaking them, it was sending them mental. And, you know, like, we're looking at them like, what's wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? We were the only people that were equipped to deal with what has come and what is to come. And that is so powerful. Tatanzambi was showing to Jacob that you have powerful people ascending and descending your bloodline. And that is why we survived with all the trauma, we have forgotten all of that. We haven't forgotten, but we have forgotten. You know what I'm saying? Because we were equipped with power, with that kind of power that nobody else could survive.
Oh, Ingeta, amen to that. You know, Kimbangu in some of the prophecies he gave here, page 178, said the thief must be arrested with the object that he stole. We'll finally have our own sacred book in which hidden scriptures for the Congo people and Black race in general are contained. An instructor will precede my return to write that book and prepare for the coming of the king. He will be opposed by the generation of his time, but with time, many people will understand and will begin to follow his teachings. Without this teacher, who will prepare the people of Congo? I'm just saying that to say, you know, just because we find the scriptures here and those ones there and all the information has been scattered, we have the promise that we will get a complete, you know, book at some point. Be encouraged in that fact. Look at now, we're discussing the book of the Testament of Levi. I never knew about this thing, you know. Why? Because they were trying to hide it. Somebody was deliberately trying to hide it. But also get out there. There's some videos I've watched of a very, very fantastic psychologist called Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. I posted the name on the chat. Just YouTube it, look for it. Look at some interviews. She's talking about issues of race and you know what we are made of. You know, this is more biology than I can handle. But I have been able to listen enough to understand that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And there are those who are not as fearfully made as we are, who have been working against us. You know, and it's not for me to separate them. You know, the Most High will separate the wheat from the tares, you know, because I can't look at somebody and tell you that this is this side or the wheat or the tare, you know, but I will love them. I will love them. And I will not stand for them to slap me and I turn a cheek. No, I'm gonna step away. Anyway, so with regard to the Levites, let me say some of my thoughts with regard to tithing, based on the question that was asked. So first of all, with regard to tithing, tithing was to provide means of sustenance, food, you know, whatever you want to call it, food, shelter, clothing. It was to provide means of sustenance for the people, the Levites. And who were the Levites? The Levites were the priests, they were the judges, they were given that office of the Most High. In the chapter 4 of the scriptures that of the Testament of Levi, chapter 4, verse 2, therefore the Most High has heard your prayer to separate you from iniquity. Emma talked about that. And you shall become to him a son, you shall become to him a son, to the Most High, and a servant and a minister of his presence. The light of knowledge you shall light up in Jacob, and as the sun you shall be to all the seed of his soul. Okay. So, and there shall be given to you a blessing and to all your seed. This is specifically to Levi, until the Lord shall visit all the Gentiles in his tender mercies forever. And therefore, there have been given to thee counsel and understanding, that you might instruct thy sons concerning this. Okay. I will jump over somewhere else. Chapter 8, verse 3. And they severally carried these things and put them, it's talking about the things are the vestments, the clothes, you know, there was the raiment, there was the robe, there was the crown, there was a breastplate, the belt, garment of truth, and so on. So it says, and they severally carried these things and put them on Levi and said unto me, From henceforth become a priest of the Most High, of the Lord, thou and your seed forever. If the Levites are going to be priests forever, priests of the Lord forever, then it follows logic that they will need the tithes for their sustenance. Isaiah, Yesu, came and became a high priest, right? Even if he was not from the line of Levi, he was from the lineage of Judah. And we have no need for a high priest anymore because he was that high priest. But we have a need for Levite priests to keep leading us on the other issues of knowledge about the Most High, of teaching us, of judging between us, of leading us in our Sabbaths and rituals and things like that. You know, we are not doing the Levitical, let me call them rituals that were done back then of sacrifices and all those things. Thank you, Sister Terian, for sharing the video that you shared. I'm halfway through watching it, learning a lot. But there are things that only the Levites can be the only ones to represent us on matters concerning the knowledge of the Most High, just like I read in that first, in chapter 4, chapter 4, yes, where it says, Therefore the Most High has heard your prayer to separate you from iniquity, that you should become to him a son, a servant, and a minister of his presence. This was not done to, you know, Reuben or Judah or somebody else. It's Levi who was selected. So if they're to have this office forever, they need the tithes from Isolele. That's my position. That's what I think. I'd like to hear what other people think. And not just on tithes, just about the Levites as well in general. Mama Doris, go ahead.
I think.
Hold on, Brother Nick.
Yeah, I just had one short thing, a scripture that says in Peter, I was trying to find it, but for some reason, my reference in my memory in the scriptures is not lining up. But anyway, it says that we are a kingdom of priests. Okay, and then the references that Royal Daughter keeps bringing up about the bloodline and who we are and how important that is. But again, the blood just has to do with the flesh. Okay, it's our spirit. We are spirit beings, and because of, again, listening to the voice of the enemy, like she said, continually on our sides, but learning to adapt. It's our spirit that's adapting, because you can't destroy the spirit. It changes from one form to another, and that's how the enemy has been able to keep us in this delusion, is because he's always operating according to his spirit, and that's why he needs a body, so that he can continue to make it difficult for us to identify him by just looking at the fleshly being. But again, for me, the Most High keeps telling me to focus on the fact that I am a spirit being, and this clay body that I have is the temple. And Roma Daughter mentioned also in her comments about the pineal gland, or the third eye, which is the temple. When growing up, you think about they said your temple, and it would always point to the side of your head. And it's called, that part of your head is called the temple. When you look on in biology, it refers to that part. But then when he breaks it down and it goes a little farther into that biological construct, it points to that gland, and it always talks about knowledge and everything is in that area. And that area affects, when it talks about the hormones from that particular gland and where it's located, affects other parts of your body. But again, because of us being born into this condition to function in the flesh instead of functioning in the spirit, because of listening to the lies of the enemy, it's caused us to that part has been kind of cut off to a certain extent, where we don't have actual full access to that, which is again that touched me when I read in the book of Adam and Eve, when the Most High was saying to them, when you listen to the enemy, it's not that I have forgotten you. I still have compassion for you, and I'm doing, but you have 5.5 days. And then when you break that down, and I've been hearing the 500 from you all side, natives from the continent, but on our side it's 400 years. So that's another connection of how the enemy used the lies to keep us so-called separated from each other. So again, yeah, just those little tidbits. Even in what you read, again, it's like we're in every part of the earth, and the Most High is bringing us back to the center, so that, what's the scripture said, the whole earth mourns and groans, waiting for the manifestations of the sons of the Most High. And we are manifesting. But again, where is he right now? In the middle of the earth, keeping us from coming back, causing us to doubt those on the continent, and the continent to doubt us in the diaspora, and all of those things. But again, the continent is in each one of us, and it's manifested in how we've been able to overcome the lies of the enemy, because again, the Most High says, I have never left you. You've always been in the palm of my hand. And where's the palm of his hand? In the middle of the continent of Africa, to be manifested in a physical expression by his spirit. I've loved you with an everlasting love. I have not forsaken you. But again, the enemy came in and talked about what the Most High is saying about him. He's the one who's been forsaken. His place is, he knows where it is. And he's trying to take all of those who will continue to listen to him to that place. It's not us, it's the Most High talking about him. He left his former estate. We didn't leave our former estate. We were deceived out of our former estate. So praise the Most High and continue to be encouraged. And again, I praise the Most High for, and he once told me, it's like, Doris, I am a Most High of order. And I thought, I've been trying to get order. My life is, yeah. But again, I don't listen to that so much now, and hold back, because it's a battle for me to do things in an orderly fashion. But again, I have to just learn to do my particular part when I'm prompted, and depend on those that he's connected me with to see the order in it. And you guys, like I said, you're doing that, and it's just awesome. Like I said, that was the thing that drew me to to your fellowship, to this fellowship, is the order of your presentations when you put them out there, and how you maintain that order even in the group discussions. Like, you always bring us back into this, let's look at this, let's go. Yeah, so.
Thank you, Mama Emma. Thank you. Brother Nick.
Just two things. One, if you look at the reason why the Levites were selected and given an inheritance, is because they were to focus on solely the tasks that they were given. So it's important for the Levites to keep at their tasks. Failure to which, you have the rest of the tribes or the rest of the people falling off from the bandwagon, so to speak, because the Levites will be the forefront of the whole tribe of, or rather the whole congregation of the Israelites. And that hasn't changed. And we see it continuously throughout Bible scripture. We see it from Moses, we see it from we see it in advisory services of Samuel and things like that. So we tend to see there is a continuous aspect of the leaders having a Levitical priest or Levitical person in place so that they're able to advise and keep to the statutes. So that's the first thing. So the Levites, we have not seen anywhere in scripture that says that now the inheritance of the Levites is finished. So now they've been given land, or they've been given a full portion for them to stay. So that has not changed. It's still as it was. Two, the Levites, if you notice, for example, in Second Kings, I think it's Second Kings, uh, Second Kings chapter 22, verse 23. This is not necessarily about the Levites, but it's in regards to a king called Josiah. He was 8 years old, and he discovered that they had fallen off from the statutes, from the commandments, and from what they were supposed to do. So he was 8 years old when he came into the reign, but he brought back he basically built up again the Levites in terms of bringing money into the church, or into the Levitical tribe, and also bringing the offerings to them. And by doing so, the Most High diverted the plan of destruction, which was meant to be for those people. So you can see that if the Levites are able to come into the forefront, they are a shield for the people at the back, because then they be the guiding light for the rest of the people. So it's important for the Levites to do what they're supposed to do. And lastly, just so that I give this, Matthew 13:19. So why are the Levites important? The Levites are the ones, the custodian of the kingdom message, if I was to say that. They're living proof of the kingdom of God. They are walking, talking kingdom people, because they are not seeking uh, worldly things. They rely on the Most High. So day in and day out, they do not have land, they're not working, they rely on the Most High to provide. And the only task is to seek the kingdom, to teach people the commandments, to teach people the laws, to teach people the Sabbath, for example, and to make sure people are adhering or walking along the path. So in true form, the Levites are walking and living kingdom people. So if we don't get those people to be walking and living, because sometimes
we learn from examples of how people live as compared to them teaching us by way of classwork or something like that. So the way people live is at times the best example. So we see the Levites being the kingdom people. And I say that because when you read Matthew 13:19, it says, when one heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, this is King James Version, then cometh the wicked one. The same wicked one we've seen from all the time. Then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away or takes away that which was sown in his heart. So the very little that the people who were supposed to be taught this, the very little about the kingdom they had, the wicked one, who you know from the beginning, with all these various ways, by distractions, by comes in and steals everything. So you are now no longer left with anything. You have no interest in in seeking to know more about the kingdom. So I just wanted to put the Matthew 13:19 and how it relates to the Levites and the tithes as well. Thanks. Get.
Thank you, Brother Nick. Thank you. Mama Rodota, I'm going to go to you first and then to Sister Terian. I think that's how the order was. Go ahead.
Interesting conversation. Very, very important conversation, because we, like the sister said, we have to know his order, because he is a God of order. And so you know, when the temple, Tatanzabi said he requires a holy nation. So he required people that lived that covenant lifestyle 24/7, 365. When the temple was in existence, it ran like that. The people could go into the temple 24/7 to pray or to connect. So the feast days were different. And so, you know, there were certain holidays, what we call holidays or feast days, that are appointed for certain things. And then, you know, but the people could go into the temple. So there were priests, and there were different priests to work in different settings, different places in the temple. The temple was huge. It was no little church like we walk into a little church. It was the temple itself was a whole organization. And so there were priests that were given different jobs in the temple, and one couldn't overstep and do the other one's job. And then we had the high priest. The high priest was the only one that could go into the Holy of the Holies. And so this was a full-time job for the priests. They took I think it was like 2-week sessions or something like that, and they would go home and come back. So they had a rotation. So when the sister said order, she really meant order, because that is how the Most High had set up his temple. And the lifestyle of the people centered around the temple, because they lived the covenant lifestyle. So the priests themselves worked 24/7. All of the priests worked 24/7, round the clock, because of the temple had to be always ready for anybody that can walk in and do say a prayer or whatever the need was. Everything came out of the temple. So there's a difference in the temple and what we call church now. What they call church now, they compare it to a temple. It has nothing to do, the one thing has nothing to do with the other. Because now they run church as a business. That's not how the Most High intended. You know, he spoke about the fox and eating the sheep and all of that. So, you know, when it comes to the temple, I want to read from Genesis 14. Genesis 14 from verses 18 to 21. It says, and Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. So he was king and he was priest. He was king of Salem, Salama, which is peace, the city of what we call Jerusalem. So he was the king of Jerusalem, but it is important to understand that he is the king of peace. His son is the prince of peace. That is important now, because when he establishes his nation, even now, as we are coming back to him, his children are the only people on the earth who are going to have peace. So that's why that's so important, because our king is the king of peace. It says, and he blessed him and said, blessed be Abraham of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be the Most High God, which had delivered thine enemies into thine hands. And he gave him tithes of all. And the king of Sodom said unto Abraham, give me the persons and take the goods to thyself. And Abraham said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up mine hands unto the Most High, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take a thread even to a shoe latchet, that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abraham rich. How important is that? That is so important, because he lifted up his hands and says, I am in covenant with the Most High. And so, you know, this is the posture our Father wants us to take again. Lift up our hands and say, we are in covenant with the Most High. We don't need anything from anybody. You know, and I look at Uganda. Uganda said you can't bring your laws in here. They said we're going to take our funding. They said, I don't care. They said we're going to take, and they did take their funding. They cut off their bank accounts, everything. What do you know? Uganda found a mountain of gold. What do you know? Uganda found oil. So this is the posture our Father wants to have. We are in covenant with him, and we don't need anything from anybody else, because he is protector and provider. But I wanted to show that Abraham paid tithes. This tithe that Abraham paid, he established a covenant with the King of Peace. When the king presented to Abraham, he brought forth bread and wine. That's a symbol of covenant, bread and wine, because he was the priest of the Most High. So he established a covenant with Abraham. Let me see. Hebrews 7 verse 9 says, and as I may so say, Levi also received tithes, paid tithes in Abraham, for he was yet in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him. So that exclude Levi from paying tithe. This is why the priests don't pay tithe. But now I'm saying all of this, I don't want people to feel like if you're running an organization, let's say a church, for want of a better word, that is really working in unison, you know, to help people, help the community. To run any organization, you do need money. So that is totally different. You know, when I grew up in church, they did pick up tithes, but our priest had to work. I have never been, I've never came from an environment where the priest didn't have a job to take care of his family. And at the end of the year, all the monies, they had a meeting, and they had they give everybody that paper that where all the monies that was collected, all the monies that was spent, what we used it for. It was used for church outings, it was used for different things. And they give us a breakdown of all the money that was spent. There must be some accountability. You know, in Second Colossians, I think, when I think it was the king's name was it Josiah or the one right after him, that they went around and picked up money to repair the temple, that they had not done that for so many years, that they picked up money that was established before, and they picked up money to fix up the temple, to repair the temple, the maintenance of the temple. So now if there is a church or organization that you're in agreement with, that you go to, and there's nothing wrong with giving an offering, you know, so because every organization has to run. If you're in agreement and you go there, nothing wrong. But the tithe itself was for the people brought whatever they brought. It was established that the priests, that they would have to give for the priests, even the offering. There were parts of the offering that was taken and sacrifice as a sacrifice, and there were parts that were given to the Levites. They were not given land, they were not given inheritance. So it's not like they could go farm and they have a farm here, and you know, and because they were 24 hours priests. So it was a whole different thing from the setting that we have now. And you know, the scripture says that when the people go back into the land, that it will be like that again, because the whole community centered around the temple. And so the Most High said he will reestablish the priesthood. But when Abraham met Melchizedek, he established that covenant for a king and a priest, which pointed to Christ, Isaiah. So Isaiah became king and priest because of this covenant. But the other thing that happened because of this covenant is in Isaiah 6:13. It says, but ye, I want to read from 11. Then said I, that ends on be how long? And he answered, until the cities be washed without inhabitants, and the house without man, and the land be utterly desolate, and the Lord have removed men far away, and there be a great forsaking in the midst of the land. But yet in it shall be a tenth, and it shall return and be eaten as a teal tree, and as oak whose substance is in them, when they cast their leaves, so the holy seed shall be the substance of it. So he said a tenth shall return. Now when Abraham gave that tenth, it served a dual purpose. It was establishing the kingship and priesthood through the blood of Abraham. It was a covenant, so it was bloodline. And it was also a tenth of his children that Abraham gave so that they could come back in this day. That is why the scripture says that it's only a remnant. In Isaiah 6, it says, but yet in it shall be a tenth, and it shall return and shall be eaten. In other words, so the holy seed shall be the substance thereof. In other words, that you will be absorbed into the land would recognize you, and the land would provide for you. So there will be no difference between you and the land. So the tenth that Abraham gave was his children, that he went into covenant so that this tenth would come wake up in this day and come back to to Tatanzambi. So, you know, that thing of tithing is a very, very powerful thing, but it has to be done in Tatanzambi's order. We can't just go and say, because Tatanzambi said he will deal with you if you mess up his anything to do with his children and you mess up. He said, to woe to the shepherd that lead my sheep astray. He will deal with you. So those who want to play like they want to benefit or they want to make that their employment, that Nzambi will deal with them, and not only with them, with their bloodline. This is how we bring curses into bloodlines and stuff like that. Ingita.
Thank you, Mama Raya daughter. I think I'd take Sister Terry Ann, and then we'll go to Mama Emma, and then Brother Makudi. If you want to comment, please put a Q or a C, because it's getting difficult for me to track the reactions. But let me go with that for now. Sister Terry Ann.
Okay, thank you, Elder. Question is today. So we don't pay the tithe, or how do we what do we give to? If we are to pay the tithe, what do we give to? Is it 10% of gross, 10% of net? How does tithing apply today? Because it's a command, and I don't want to miss out on being disobedient. And also, if you have an obligation, you're taking care of your family, your parents or something, how do you pay the tithe? Are you still obligated to pay the tithe when your income is going somewhere else to pay for things that are necessary?
Sorry, let me make sure I understood the question. Is the question, do you pay gross or net? And if what you're making as an income is not enough, how do you even pay, and you're not taking care of your family? Are those the two parts of the question?
Yes, because that's very much applicable today.
Okay. I will respond, because I have some answers on that. First of all, in the biblical times, if you look at it, there was no concept of net or gross. This was an agrarian system. And even when you read the testament of Levi, you will see that they gave the first fruits or the first animal, right? So that was what they took, a portion of their whole harvest or their offspring of their animals, and they took the first. And if it was something that had blemish, whether plant or animal, they would redeem it. So there was no concept of gross or net. I think that came in the tax system much later. I'm guessing in the 20th century or something. So I would say, do it on what you call today your gross. Even back in Africa and in many places, rural places, not just in Africa, people still take their tithe in fruits, in animals, and things like that. Secondly, do not ignore your family. It doesn't make sense to be going and giving all your money, giving all your tithe and offerings and everything, and you're not taking care of your family. I wouldn't do that. I don't think it's right. But you'll also realize, and you all have had this, especially in our previous lives in Christianity, that the tithe is a test as an individual, for an individual. It's part of growing strong in your faith. Sometimes you're like borderline on your needs versus what your income is, and you're wondering, should I give? If I give, I won't have this. That's for you to wrestle with the Most High and grow with. But I can tell you from my experiences of my parents seeing them tithe, I have seen them tithe and even give offerings when they didn't have what you would call enough for their own family. So, but they were meeting the tenth in terms of could they provide it. So use judgment, pray to the Most High, let Him give you situational wisdom on that. But more importantly, if and when you choose to tithe, be sure that you're giving it to Levites. I think that for me was the biggest learning. When I stopped tithing and I came across this information and I left the church where I was going to, I stopped tithing because I realized I was not giving the tithe to the Levites, first of all. And I made peace with the Most High until He would guide me otherwise. That's what I think. All right. Why is my hand raised? Okay. Let me see. I hope, Sister Terian, I answered your question. I'm hoping others will also respond in the same light while they're answering and give some answers. And that response is not just to Sister Terian, it's to everybody, but I think it's a very good question. And one thing I have noticed is this, and especially for the benefit even of the rest outside this session, you will notice that because the portion of the Most High is for the Levites, many Levites will go out and start creating a temple and start creating the place to bring the people together out of their own means. What I'm saying is that the Levites, like Brother Nick was talking about, the Levites are provided for because they're living the kingdom life. So they're provided for. And you might be struggling, wondering, should I tithe? Should I not tithe? Now, struggle with, are you dealing with the Levites? And if you establish that, if you are able to give tithe, give it, okay? Give it, but do not give your tithe to non-Levites, because that is the kingdom of darkness. We've got some organizations that have assets worth over $10 trillion. And I can tell you they are not the kingdom of light, Secondly, even when these Levites collect these tithes and offerings, right? Look at what are they spending it on? Because the true Levites are fearing the Most High, and they're listening to what the Most High shows them to spend it on. Are they spending it on? Are they spending it in an orderly manner, an auditable manner, a transparent manner, a manner that benefits the community, Isolele, the nation? All right, who did I have next? I got jacked up now, man. Okay, was it Brother Makudi? Brother Makudi, go. And then I don't know if Mama Emma wants to go, and then Sister Elder Vanessa.
Yeah, Elder Mutabi, I shared 2 videos there. I don't know if you saw them yet, but do you mind sharing them? They're 2 very short videos.
I saw the links. Just give us a synopsis or a summary of what they are about, and then people can grab the links and watch them at their time.
Yeah. Well, the first video was a video of the Congolese princess, right? She was coming back to her village, and when she arrived, there was a court of 4 women there with her, and there was people around her, and they had palms, right? Now the court of the 4 women, they had these pots, and they were taking something out of the pot, and they would, as she was walking, they were throwing this stuff in front of her as she was walking, and they were waving the palms up and down in front of her, right? You guys know that palms was synonymous with the tabernacle, right? Offering, right? Right. I'm guessing what they were throwing were like dried palms or something. I don't know. I can't tell you what it was. I'm not in Congo right now, so I can't tell you what it is. But it was that their ties to her was their service to her, right? And she's a royal. But the interesting thing is when she got there, they had like a kind of like a town hall of some sort. And she actually started to give them stuff. Right? So it was like, I thought they were tithing their silvers to her, but when she got there, she's giving them stuff. Right? So that was her tithe to them, her service to them. You see what I'm saying? The next video is a Congolese wedding. And when they came, you know they do these extravagant weddings. They came in and everybody started throwing money at them. Everybody started throwing money at them. Now I understand the other 2 forms of the tithing. But I didn't understand until I thought about and heard different perspectives when I first saw that in my research and stuff. They do that in a way as a ritual to bring prosperity to the marriage. So again, I mean, maybe I would not consider them personally Levite per se, but that was done in the form of a service, right, to whomsoever, right? So some preachers use the fact that they use what is that guy with Abraham and what is his name, Melchizedek. They use Melchizedek, they use a Levite for tithing and all of that. I've even heard, what is this here? The Galatians 6:6. It says, but this is the one I've heard the least. If you are being taught the message, this in this Bible says Christian message, you should share all the good things you have with your teacher. Right? But being in the Tokwis assembly and stuff like that, they don't ask for money, right? You don't know what is that good thing that ask yourself, what is that good thing to them? You see what I'm saying? Your time, understanding, sharing the message with others. I think it says Matthew 10, and what is that in this Bible here? Let's see on the front page of this Bible, Matthew 10 and 8. Our Messiah said, "You have received without paying, give without being paid. Freely you receive, freely you shall give." Right? So, tithing is done in the form of a service, right? It has a purpose, right, behind it. And I believe it was that Mutabi said it's done according to your faith, right? What do you believe pertaining to tithing, right? Now I think it was last week when we had the other Q&A session, and I said that look around at the people in your life with discernment, and if they are of good substance, you might want to take a look again and see if they are the person you're supposed to help, and where it could bring them, depending on the characteristics and what they have shown you. You might be able to bring them to that next level with your help, according to Jacob, right? That might be the Levite in your life. You see what I'm saying? They might not even know it, right? But you know what they say? People usually see your gift before you do. So, you know, that's just the other perspective I have to I just want to just add this last part in here is a couple things in society where people also throw their money, right? Fountains, the club, I'm thinking. You guys can help me too.
There are all kinds of places, brother. We get the point.
Right.
We get the point.
You're doing it for a reason. It's about your belief. That's why you're doing it. Even though it might be frivolous to some degree, but Matando family.
Thank you, brother Makudi. Thank you. Who did we have next? I hope I'm not. Is it you, Elder? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, sorry, it's Mama Emma Doris. I think she had raised her hand before you. Go ahead, Mama Emma.
Elder can go first.
Okay.
You know, it's such a great question that Tal asked about tithing, and being from the traditional church and then being in mega church, tithing was done all kind of crazy ways as far as I was concerned. Watching so many pastors, and I do have this is my own personal feeling about tithing offerings are for the church and indeed to help the people. Most of the churches that I went to, I watched pastors get fat off the tithe. And when I talk about fat, when you're driving Rolls Royces to church, you're living in mansions where 50 of your members need rent money and they don't have the rent money to pay their rent. They don't have a car. They're taking a bus, can barely put clothes on their back. I got a problem with it because when my mom was a pastor of a church, tithing never went into my parents' pocket. They would always find out who needs rent money, down to your stockings. Who needs stockings? Okay, and they would, who needs a prayer cloth? And that's where they would put their money. Unfortunately, the church I went to, that I sat under for almost 17, 18 years and gave tithe. My husband and I owned a house. My husband lost his job. I lost my job. We did not have anybody to go to. My father had just remarried at my mother's request when she was dying. I want you to marry the lady next door. He married her. They've been married 24 years now. We're losing our house. We go and we ask the pastor, hey, can we borrow, I think it was at the time, $600. Can we borrow $600? And we will give it back. We were faithful tithers and everything else. And the reply to us was, well, if we give to you, sis, we got to give to everybody else. And I kind of looked around and I said, excuse me? You got to, what does that mean? That you have to give to everybody else because you should be giving to everybody else. It gets worse, y'all. The church is growing. And I was there when we were going house to house. And now we're in this big mega building, where all this money has been given out. Pastor has a beautiful house. Lots of people in the congregation losing their homes, losing jobs, losing all kinds of opportunities, just, and not because they were doing wrong things. It was just the time that we were living in. The mortgage rates were through the roof, crazy. I heard the Lord say to me, Vanessa, don't pay your tithes this week. Keep your money in your pocket and pay your mortgage. And we were encouraged. Oh no, that's not the Lord talking to you. That's your flesh speaking to you. But that's a little cuckoo, y'all. I'm just saying, Vanessa ain't got the sense. Nini gave to him. Sometimes it slides. Okay, so I was like, excuse me, what was that supposed to mean? I mean, just, I don't understand. And the Lord said to me again, pay your mortgage. I listened to what they told me, and I didn't pay the mortgage, and we lost our house. It wasn't their fault either. This is the thing. When I get back, you want to get mad at somebody. Who are you going to get mad at? You can't get mad at him because he told you to give, because you're supposed to listen to Sanini Nanini, not him. He's a voice. Yes, he's a voice, but he's not just the voice. Listen to the voice, the holy voice that's speaking to you and telling you to pay your mortgage. Didn't pay it. Lost the house. Moved. Had to move to North Carolina. Here we are. It's all well and good. Part of it was our decision to move to North Carolina. But just the same, I watched, like I said, churches after church after church host all these different pastors that come, $10,000 for them to come, $15,000 for them to come, and sometimes not even leaving a message that was applicable to your life where you could literally use it to move forward. Nobody ever saying you need to take care of your husband, you need to take care of your wife, you need to take care of yourself, take care of your children. None of that. It was always put the church first, and then so Nini Nanini will help you do whatever you need to do. And so tithing, like I said, has been completely off for me. And as much as what you're saying, Akemi, Elder Akemi, I agreed to the same thing. It was, are they Levites? Are they doing the proper thing with the money? My nephew just died. I just lost my nephew to a severe seizure he had in his sleep because he could not pay for his medication. And he was too embarrassed to tell the rest of us that he needed money. His pastors knew. And nobody reached out to say, hey, Antonio, do you need whatever? It was very, I'm saying this to say this, is if we can't get to the true point of why tithing is, and as our brother says, and as Mama has already said, as Sis has already said, it is about where are you putting this money? And how are we effectively using it in the body? Not just building a big church, but I'm watching some churches build communities for their church, for their people to live in. Or growing a garden where everybody can come and get their food. There are other ways to tithe besides just the...
Thank you. Mama Emma, Mama Emma.
Oh, that's a lot. Again, the scriptures that Royal Daughter read talks about Melchizedek and Abraham's reaction to his response to the war that he'd fought and won, and again the scribes of the scriptures put that word in there, tithing. Okay, but Abraham plainly said, even in the scriptures, and she brought that out too. Abraham's tithing was his seed. Okay, again, going back to Genesis, the Most High said, I made you in my image and my likeness, and you have dominion over everything. I've already given you everything that you need to live this life as a spirit being, and to live it in the flesh. He gave us all the trees, and he told us which ones to eat from. Okay. Church. Okay. I think we might need to go and do a word study on church and realize church is connected to Christianity, to Catholic, and all that system. Okay. And again, we talked about the Levitical priesthood being the ones that the Most High set up to respond to him. But again, is that a true observation and understanding of that priesthood? Because again, he told us he made us a kingdom of priests, kings and priests. Okay, so the enemy comes in and sets up this church system of tithing. Okay, one scripture that came to mind when I was listening to this, and on that point, is when Hamashiach was in the temple, because they were traveling long distance to the temple and to do their offering, and so they had to change their original tithes of animals and whatever they grew, whatever they had, into money. And so when they got there, the Pharisees and the Sadducees upped the prices on them converting their money back into the true tithing. And Hamashiach says, you know, my temple is to be a house of prayer and not of money changers. Okay, so that's the system that's in place now in the churches, money changers. Because again, as the elder was saying, you know, we have worked really hard, and some of us has been able to navigate the system and be able to accumulate, purchase homes and cars. But the majority of the Most High's people aren't able to do that, especially the sons and the daughters. And I was so surprised when I came into the awakening at the number of our college graduates who make this income, but they don't have homes. Their children don't have homes. They rent, and they rent everything. They rent the cars, they rent their clothes. I mean, they just. But anyway, again, because we're coming away from, and we still in that delusion of this system. The Most High is destroying the system. And he's taking those things. And Abraham said, he's like, I will not. I'm only going to get what the Most High gives to me. And if we study Abraham closely, everything he got was given to him by the enemy. He didn't fight for it. He only did what the Most High told him to do. Now he got it, again, he's fighting to hold on to what the Most High told him. Walk uprightly before me. Okay, and that's what we are doing. So it's not about maintaining the practice of tithing to the churches, whichever way they are doing it. It's not about that, because it's a system that's been deceived to keep us under. And we notice that, again, the continent of Africa, they have stolen, seized everything. And even the example that Royal Daughter gave about the mountain of gold. Okay, they show that, and then they put a little thing in there about the people were coming in to protect them, and you ain't heard nothing about that mountain of gold since. So, and then I had a question at the beginning. Of course, I kind of skipped my question, but so is the Levitical priesthood, as we know it from the scriptures, what the Most High intended for us? Also, there was Pan-African TV. They did a subject on that too, based on Haiti, because they're saying that that whole island is the remnant of the original priesthood, because again, they talk about the voodoo and all the stuff that they did, and all those kind of things. But as an American, quote unquote, what they have told us about Haiti is that they got their independence because they made a pact with the devil, and that's why they are so poor on the one hand. But see, all of Haiti wasn't poor, which is another thing, that we didn't know, and I didn't know in my early beginning of studying and listening to Christian pastors and all those things as I grew from childhood to adulthood, and even now. So again, the Most High is uncovering what's been done in the dark and the light, and we have to see that. So again, another a scripture that the Most High says we don't have to do that to be blessed. He blessed us. We are a blessed people. And I'm kind of like Elder Nkosi. Blessed means be less, and he wants us to be more. Okay, we're from Shem, the remnant of, and our brother Japhet, who increased. So I don't know, the word that he told us to use is Mbuka, I think, Ibukun, which means much more. And so I try to use that word instead of bless. And if we look at it in context in the scripture, every time it says bless, is in true application, we're not being blessed. Okay, for instance, in church, giving our tithes and our offering, you say, give to this, you're gonna be blessed. If you do this, if you sacrifice, as the elder said, it was so ingrained in her that you got to bless the church and the pastor that you need to pay your tithe and don't bless what the Most High is giving you. So now you are blessed. You have less. You don't have what the Most High increased you with. So that's my take on tithing and the Levitical priesthood. And again, the Most High is he's always given me a hard, quote unquote, view of the church and some of the scriptures. And it's like, for a long time, I was raised, and I have this spirit of obedience, but sometimes the obedience was to my hurt, because not understanding, again, the time that I was birthed into the earth and what was going on and what has been going on since then. And then learning, again, not to blame my parents for that, my ancestors for that, to trust what the Most High is saying, again, through our father Abraham. Sometimes we don't look enough to how the Most High chose him and said that he is my friend, and I remember when I first started reading scriptures on my own and letting the Spirit speak to me, spirit of Amkeni, it's like it's Abraham, and he just, the way they presented to themselves, he was the father of faith, and then they would teach us like, okay, he made the first mistake. He took his family when the Most High told him to leave your family, all those kinds of things. But again, the Most High will do what he says he's going to do. If you trust him with your whole heart, lean not into your own understanding. If you seek after righteousness, you will be filled. And he's continually doing that. It's the washing of the water of the word, hearing the word, receiving the word. Even as our other brother read Matthew 19, I think it was.
13:19.
15:19, yes. And that's another one of the foundation scriptures, like, and I was just sharing that with some sisters yesterday. You have to believe, again, what the Most High said about us is, yes, a challenge, because the enemy is a spirit, and he has taken the authority from us. But we have to know the Most High restores that authority. He said, I have given you authority over all the authority and power of the enemy. But we keep saying we need power. The enemy got power, but he has power against us because he's working by the superpower spirit. We got to learn to work by the superpower spirit, and it's in us. We have it. He gave it to us. He never took it from us. So, yeah, I'm gonna slow down. Praise the Most High. Yeah, yeah. Take another look individually at the Levitical priesthood as presented to us in Leviticus, and see who the Most High was talking to about that, and who is the one who's telling us to do these things, and why he's telling us to do these things. Again, it goes back to Cain slayed Abel, and then lied in the face of the Most High and said he didn't know what happened to his brother. He shed blood. He broke the first commandment of what he was created to do. And then he deceived us into doing that, so that the Most High would not be able to look on us because we keep listening to the enemy.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Y'all have been awesome today. I'm going to keep the line open for another until hour, another 15 or so minutes. And I'm going to ask some people who've not spoken. What are you thinking? Mama Margaret, Sister Laura, Mama Shelley, Mama Tuzola's given some comments. I read them and took notes. You guys are back there. What are you thinking? Sister Laura, what you thinking?
This is just very powerful, and I am just so grateful to hear all of these things. You know, I really just, this is what I am so thankful for. You know, it's the things like this, it's the encounters like this, it's the Most High being in the midst of us like this in this time to come together and just be so elevated. I just feel so thankful to the Father right now. So that's what I want to say. I'm just Tata and Zombie. I just thank you for this. I thank you for this time. I thank you for your expression here on earth through your servants, through your children, through your lineage. I'm so grateful for this. And I just pray that each and every single one of us just continue to be so empowered by these living words and this life. I just say, Ngeta, thank you so much, Father.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Laura. Thank you. Mama Shelley, got anything to add? If you're there.
Yes, Elder, just a little, but it's been powerful. Like Sister Laura said, it's been wonderful. And, you know, I've learned a lot, and there's been so many wonderful things. And, you know, underlying thing and the most important thing I believe for us to remember is to listen to Tata Zambi's voice. No matter what you hear, no matter who is speaking, listen to his voice, because yes, he knows everything. He can see everything, and he can see things we don't know and may never know. But if we follow his voice, we will not fail. We will not, we will not have regrets. We have to listen to his voice. It's so important. And we got to get to know his voice. You know, we won't hear the audible voice, but we got to get to know his voice, how he's speaking to us. So when the enemy comes up and whispers in our ear with his deception, we will know, that's not my Father. So yeah, let's tune in our ears and listen to his voice. He will never lead us wrong. Man, thank you everyone for this. It's been just wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mama Shelly. Mama Margaret, you got some thoughts? Good to see you.
Yes, I learned a lot today. I'm so grateful about tithes, about everything. It was refreshing and so good. And about bloodlines and all of that. But grasping at some of these things from here and everywhere, and trusting, as she said, she lost her house. That's she lost her house because she didn't listen. And I was smiling and I said, because a friend took me to a church too, and you can see in the church, you know, it's a small church, but the pastor is high, big, high and mighty, and but a place where Sister Nicole was nowhere. In Lounge Park, there's a house in area, big houses there. But you see, the church is not it's not a grand church, as I said, those big churches. It's a small church, and I look around at the people, and you can seeing poverty, and he's saying that he wants a house. That place to rent a house in there is about $5,000 a month. That church, I can't see that bringing all that. You have to take. I'm telling you, I know the area. Sister Nicole will know that area. And I watched that man, and he's in a suit, and his wife, and she came down, first lady, and first lady have to go on a vacation, but the people have to pay for her trip. I was like, what? I tell him, I know my friend afterwards, I'm not going to chastise over that. I went to the church, and he opened his coat and he said, yeah, he wants to get a house. So I asked, I said, well, what do you mean by he wants a house? Who's going to get that house? And she said, well, they know they're going to do this, and the people. I said, what? I was so annoyed and upset about it. I chastised her on the side because, and here what happened to them, and she's saying too, they the husband, sometimes it's the ministry will pay salaries and all of that. Sometimes they miss, they didn't fix the pay sheet, so your payment for the month will be behind. It will get a little late, but at the time you don't have cash, you don't have money to put gas in the car. You have little kids, you need to buy food, and they went to the church and asked him for when the pay is late, they don't have money, and he took out some change. And he said, well, see what y'all can do with it. She telling me this thing. And I was like, live it. And I tell her, I say, sometimes I see y'all, but I used to tell her that and say, because I say, all the thumping Bible 3 times a week. I say, I ain't nothing that. I say, what's shipping this? I say, why you all still in there? So any pastor fell out on my mouth, and the fellow that said, okay, she's still going to that church. And I said, you have to be out of your mind. I said, I thought you all is a family. I said, I thought the family prays together, stays together. I said, what you doing there? Because I was not small church. I used to tell them that the small church. I said, what you still doing in that church? And after I spoke to her and I tell her all these things, and I tell her a set of things. He said, you're right. I said, your husband leave, you supposed to put your foot behind him and walk out of that place. What are you doing in there? That's what I know. And with me, they will look down at me and say, oh, and Bible and toting Bible and pray, and they always this kind of thing, and they would look down at you because you're too small to tell them certain things that I could see and they cannot see, and they're sitting there, and you can tell me that they don't have their bill in the house, they can't even finish it up to today, and you tell me taking all that money again and putting it to him. He wants a house and your house is incomplete. It don't have doors, it don't have anything. Like, what are you telling me? I say, and then you don't have that at that present time to put gas in the can, food on your table for your kids, and and he can't even afford, and they paying the tithes all the time. You know, you understand that's the thing that that's why I have a kind of, everybody have a sour spot in some part of their life because of this tithe giving and all these things. When time come to give, because long time I understand a little bit about it, say whatever the days you'll give animals and whatever, it's a storehouse they had. When you don't have, you will get something. That what is the storehouse they had to give them at the time? You understand? So and so I had a little problem too, you know, going through your times, you know, and Tadanzami show me for trusting in man and not trusting in him. And he put me, I had so many drill about, and I said, like, no, I said, when he showed me things, I doubt, and like, no, she wouldn't do this, she wouldn't do this, she wouldn't do that. No, you know, you trust that friend so much. And man, I tell you, 5 o'clock, wake me up. And my phone went up, bang. And I said, what? So I picked the phone up in its dark. I said, put on my glasses. And I saw, but I trust a friend to do some business for me. And I said, but wait, now last week I told you, send on the amount on the account, and then you show me something. I said, what happened? I can see the figures would change in pen. It's like, no, and he keep giving me licks and licks and licks until I turn around and not to trust. And me, I wondered, well, I tell it, I was like, no, I have to deal with this thing. When I saw that she stole $20,000 from my account, and every day she would say, a heart of a man is so deceitful. I wonder, I said, but why you keep telling me that? A heart of a man is so deceitful. I didn't understand. And I realized that when he wake me up and I went to the bank and I said, look, I want to open an account because I was in California and I wasn't back here. I want to open an account and I have to do this thing. And when I look, I said, let me take a seat. When I heard that, when I saw the thing that was being done, it's like, let me take a seat before I faint in this place. And don't trust in no man. That's what he was showing me. And I dreamed, whatever dream until you wake me up. That phone went up in the dark and I had to pick it up and see this note. Because Tanzania was telling me, yes, wake up. And now she lost her house. And this is all the things we just have to, don't trust in no man. He gave me some cough for that. You know? Yes. And then I had to share these things here today. I'm so glad. So yeah, so that was a meal for me. And I had to share this with everyone. And Gita.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. Wow. Wow, that was good. Elder Ray, I think you had a comment. Go ahead.
Vanessa had the comment, and you have a comment?
Oh, no,
earlier?
No,
she changed her mind. Sorry.
Okay. You know, I'll just wrap up with just some few comments I've been making here. First of all, y'all guys realize, for me, I think COVID, you know, from 2020, we all know about the 400 years and all that, but I think since COVID came in 2020, 2019, it's been a time of reset in the kingdom. You know, it's been a time to expose those who are not of the kingdom, who are pretending to be in the kingdom, collecting all this money, doing all these things. You know, one of the things that I've seen is I've seen a lot of data that shows how churches are shutting down. From the big organized religion, you know, why would the Most High let that happen if it was really his church? You know, it should be the opposite. You know, one thing I noticed, if you ever study the scriptures, I never saw Yesaiah building a church, a building. I'm seeing Brother Makudi's hands. I don't know if it's his hands or his legs, but I think he's in agreement. You know, if Yesaiah wanted, he could have been raising money to build a church here and a church there, a building. I'm talking about a building, you know, and his disciples would have done the same. He didn't do that. What does that mean? It means that we're not supposed to be trying to put up structures. We're supposed to be trying to raise up people. The church is the people. The nation of Israel is the people. It's not the land. The land is the promised land. That's where they dwell. That's where we dwell. You know, we don't dwell in the building. And so when y'all say, you know, don't trust man, I wholeheartedly agree with you. You know, if somebody wants to collect your money, what do they want to use it for? You know, and I think the Most High used COVID to shut down these churches so that we can instead meet in this building, which doesn't require tens and thousands of dollars to put up. But instead, if we need to put together money, we're putting it to get our people out of the darkness, out of suffering, because in his kingdom, the glory or the shame goes to him. So why should we have people, isolele, not having money for rent, not having food? That's what the organized Levitehood should be taking care of. They make sure there's justice. Anyway, just thought about that. Something else that I thought about, you know, the Levites, and Mama Emma talked about Haiti, and a few others mentioned about it. When you study the scriptures, the Levites were scattered. There had to be Levites in every territory of the other 11 tribes. And even when they were scattered abroad, they were scattered as part of those who left and also those who remained in the remnant. So we have Levites abroad and in the land, in the continent. I'm saying that to say, expect to find Levites in all these places. Yes, you may find that some of them crossed over and started doing all these things, whether it's the Sangomas in Africa or the people practicing, you know, darkness stuff, or it's voodooism and whatever you may have. You may find that over time, they crossed over into the kingdom of darkness. But they were given that knowledge, just like we read in the Testament of Levi, ice, water, elements. They knew how to use those elements as part of the kingdom of the Most High. You know, but when they lost it, they went and crossed over. That's the way I perceive it. Let me see if I forgot something. Yes, one more thing that I noticed here in the scriptures, in the Testament of Levi. Just like Abraham gave a tithe to Melchizedek. If you noticed in what chapter was that? It was chapter 9. In chapter 9 in the Testament of Levi, Jacob paid a tithe through his son Levi. Okay, and I think this is what, I forget who it was talking about. They were making a covenant. He was making a covenant with his lineage. If you read the book of Joshua, and I think the book of Enoch also talks about this, you will realize that Shem is Melchizedek. Okay, and you see Abraham paying a tithe to Shem or Melchizedek. Now you have Abraham's descendant, Jacob, who has learned, or his son, who has, not his son, but his grandson, who has learned about these things that his father also did, Isaac and Abraham. And Jacob is paying a tithe. I mean, I don't know why he didn't pay to his father, but why he chose to pay to his son or through his son Levi, I don't know, but they're both practicing a principle here. Now, these guys were so blessed, right? I mean, why are they thinking of paying a tithe? If it was material things that they were after, you know, they wouldn't be interested in paying a tithe. But I absolutely agree with many of you who have talked about don't pay attention to the man, especially because you can see with your own eyes what people are using this money for. I personally was in Kenya last year in summer, and you know, my family had drilled a borehole a few years ago. It cost about $20,000 like to put up a well, And one day when I was leaving the village, this is deep in the village, not in the cities, we passed by and I saw this huge structure, probably, and it was not even complete. It was a church. And they'd spent, I asked the person I was driving, how much do you think it cost to get the structure where it's at? It was not complete, just needed the finishing touches. And they told me at least $50,000 to get it where it is. And on the same road we're driving, this is deep in the rural parts of the country. We are seeing little kids and some adults carrying plastic containers going to fetch water from the rivers. And I'm thinking, and I'm asking, why would they spend $50,000 and they're not even done to put up a building when the people they're putting up this building for to come and worship at don't even have water? COVID was a time of reset, time of awakening, so that we cannot be aware of these things, Let's keep doing what we're doing. Thank you all for your patience.
Yes, Sister Vanessa, I experienced a lot of what you're saying with these churches. These churches took my tithes and they built compounds for their family. and I just have a little joke. I remember when I got mad after I found out I had been duped, and I heard the Holy Spirit inside of me say, I didn't tell you to do that. I had been following the wrong spirit. The Holy Spirit said, I didn't tell you to do that. I didn't tell you to give your money to those people. You followed the wrong spirit. You did not hear my voice in that. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it there.